What up, my fam? It's your boy Pop Pop. All right. So much stuff's going on in the world. I don't even know where to start. So, this is just hanging out with Pop Pop. Okay. If you're there, give me a like so I know you're there. Alrighty. I had my coffee, got my blood pressure medicine, so I'm good for 45 minutes. Got a fresh diaper on. So top of the world kind of stuff. For somebody who's a better part of a century old. I opened up the front door and I thank God for another day, which I do every day, and I don't care if anybody hears me. And in some neighborhoods, there is a debate. There's a debate about people. In English, I thank God for the day I open up the front door and I say, thank you, Lord, for another day. Always done that. Don't care who hears me. And there's a debate now about people who open up their front door and they start to yell the Muslim call to prayer at 5:30 in the morning. And people debate as to whether that's, breaking the peace, But years ago, they silenced the church bells that used to ring in the morning. When I was growing up, there was a church down at the end of the parkway, and it always rang the church bells in the morning to let you know there was another day that we hadn't been BOMBED'd or anything like that, and that God was still in control. But then progressives who don't even like clapping, I was watching a couple videos yesterday. They were like, don't clap. That's too. One person said that got on the nerves. It jangled their nerves, people clapping. So they were setting the terms for this meeting they were having. And they said, when everybody likes something, you're supposed to do happy fingers. Happy fingers, This woke crowd. So woke that they couldn't withstand clapping without having to go into their safe room with a cup of hot cocoa and a warm blanket and a coloring book and a plush animal, because the clapping got on their nerves. So a big hoop-de-doo about people. One guy did it on an airplane, stood up and did the Muslim call to worship, and it panicked the people on the plane because they figured that he was going to do the call to prayer and then, do some tea activity to down the plane. And it caused a big panic on the plane. But progressives said that church bells were too jangling early in the morning. So they're been stopped for years. And of course, life abhors a vacuum. So something else steps in. And in my area, it's 7 o'clock before you can have any activity. But that's a bunch of bull, because you always have some knucklehead who goes by in the morning, screeching their tires and playing rap music at the top of their, at full volume, going by. And you hear this thumpity bump, and you hear the rap. So, but now people are opening up their doors and they're shouting out the Muslim call to prayer. And see, that doesn't really bother me, because the trash man gets to my complex anywhere from about 3:30 in the morning till 4:30, and he bangs that can good and loud to let everybody know that he's a good, hard-working individual who's got to get up early in the morning and empty that trash. And he always bangs it about a half dozen times. Bang, 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 And they built up these condominiums around our area, which overloaded the sewer system. So now the sewer outside my door smells like week-old poop. And it's one of those things, I've lived here 12 years now, and I wake up to the bang, 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 bang. I open up my door and quietly thank God for another day, and close it before the smell of poop starts wafting into my room. And then I put a little piece of cardboard in the crack of the door to keep the smell from my neighbor's car out, because they have this old 72 Corvette that's detuned, and they like to start it up and let it run for about 15 or 20 minutes right outside my door. And so my room ends up smelling like a Greyhound bus station. And so I got to take a cardboard and stuff it into the crack of the door. And that's how I start my day. But all of this stuff is going on, smoke and mirrors, apropos. Smoke and mirrors about Alejandro Mayorkas being thrown under the bus. And it's all smoke and mirrors. That the administration is going to spend 5 or 6 months, trying to impeach this guy who is only not doing what he was told not to do, which was to secure down south. And believe me, fam, when I tell you, all of these people, most of these people in the current admin were picked on purpose to fail. It's wokeism at its very worst. And the people were picked on purpose to fail so that a shadow puppet regime can work everything, from a distance. I absolutely believe that it's Bathhouse Barry making good on his word that he said if he could install a puppet and run the person remotely, that he would have a third term. And I'm fully expecting, because come holler rates so low in the polls, that I'm fully expecting that they'll throw her under the bus, and that the Dems will run Michael Michelle or Oprah Winfrey, something like that. It's going to be a female, believe me. It's going to be a female. And the only person I think that could rescue America out of the abyss at this point, since Donald has the Republicans, the banana Republicans are scrambling now because Donald put his foot in his mouth. All he had to do was coast. It makes no sense at all. Joe has been slipping and tripping, and you know, some people thought that Joe had gone Pentecostal and that he was speaking in other tongues, that palabra jabber, jibby jabber stuff. Some people thought that Scranton Joe had become a holy roller because he was talking in other tongues. And so all Donald had to do was let it coast. But he put his foot in his mouth again by saying that NATO countries that didn't pay their fair share would not be protected when the time comes. I mean, you cannot recover from something like that. So it's one of those things that it's like a moth going to a candle, you know, and that's a spiritual thing in the man, is the man cannot resist. He cannot resist. He was asked a trick question. They knew the way he would answer it, and he fell for the trap. And like I said, it's like a moth going to the candle, and the light intrigues him, and he can't hold back, and poof, flies into the candle. And that's exactly what Donald did. So all of you that worry about Orange Man Bad is going to be POTUS again. There's no way. Absolutely no way. So if the banana Republicans were smart, they would ask somebody like Candace Owens to run with Ron DeSantis. That would be like a bulletproof ticket. But it's too late in the game now. It's really too late in the game. And for the one of you that said, well, go ahead and write in Candace Owens, you know, you're just wasting your vote. No, I'm not. Because if I write in Candace Owens this time, one person can just think of the power that you have through the Constitution. One person, I could write in Candace Owens, and I could be the only person who wrote in Candace Owens. And that meant that Candace Owens was a legitimate person who is running for 2024. That means that the next time, you know, in 2028, when that election comes by again, that means that she would have run in the previous election to her credibility. I mean, I could write in myself as an independent voter and write in my name and mail it and tell the world that I ran for POTUS. You know, you could do that. You could take an independent ballot and write in your name and then tell all your friends and family that you ran for POTUS. And I even wonder what deductions you could claim for doing that for your campaign expenses and all. That would be a good thing for somebody to look into. So, but in any case, a whole bunch is going on. Not very much that I can actually talk about because of the platform, you know. So I'll be very careful. But again, young people, if you think that it's going to make any difference in the world as far as who you vote for this time, it's not going to matter. The train is too far down the tracks. And they know that if they throw enough people under the bus and give you enough bread and circuses and smoke and mirrors, that will occupy you until they take care of the last strangulation of America. And I can see this coming. I can see this coming, fam, as plain as the nose on my face, that when socialism really gets installed in America, and you young people are like, oh boy, socialism, can't wait till everything is equal, you know? And socialism is nothing but lipstick on a pig. It's lipstick on communism, and it's sold to you as equity and all this other stuff. But in the future, it will be somebody knocking on your door from the admin, from the gov, not the gov that you're used to, but the gov requiring home wellness checks and requiring you to show them how much food you have in your house, and requiring you to tell them how many bedrooms are occupied in your house, and requiring you to tell them if you have any weapons in your house. Last time I went to the doctor, I'm not doing the Jeff Tubin off screen, by the way. As somebody who's bedridden, you have to rub the legs and stuff to keep the circulation going. So for that one person the other day who implied that I was tickling my pickle, no, I don't tickle my pickle. When somebody doesn't have any means of control from the waist down, you have to literally take your legs and give them scrunchies to keep the circulation going. You know, it's very unpleasant, very uncomfortable, you know. And it amazes me how kind some people can be, but how vulgar and ruthless other people can be. But that's okay, because karma will come back and bite you in the ass someday. And then you'll be like, why does God let that happen to me? God is so mean. I've never done anything to anybody. Why is God so mean? It's because you're on your little keyboard in mommy and daddy's basement, being a keyboard warrior and a keyboard coward, you know, typing in a whole bunch of smack. And you're not bright enough to realize that stuff stays on the web forever. Once you hit that enter button, it's out there forever, and there's no taking it back. And someday when you need to get a job or something, they'll say, well, hey, aren't you the guy that typed in that hate speech, or you typed in the N-word, or something like that, you know? And so the U.S. Postal Service, the lady's name was Miss Virginia or something like that. Very nice lady. She got my laptop to me. So I will be working on my channel in days to come. And I will be changing the comments section of my channel to subscriber comments only. So if you want to comment, you're going to need to subscribe, because I get shotgunned by too many people who, you know, land on my channel like hornets and then give me a little zap and then fly off. So fly away, fly to somebody else. But I love my I love my YouTube family. I love my Watchman River family. Justin and Katrina and Terry and Dibble Craftian and oh gosh, just everybody. Laura sends me a package of diapers every month, which when you're bedridden and wheelchair bound, you go through a lot of disposables. The young people, I feel so sorry for you because they've tricked you into thinking, well, just hand over your country to a global third party that you can't vote in and out of office. And then if they don't do what you want and give you a whole bunch of free stuff, you're going to go out into the street with your cardboard signs and your whistles, and you're going to blow your whistles and shake your cardboard signs in their face. That'll teach them. That'll get them. And you don't know the future of communism. And see, America was very blessed. You have 50% of the world believes in the goodness of God. 50% doesn't. So for that 50%, the government becomes their God. And they want everything from the government. And so the government makes you jump through a whole bunch of hoops and stuff. Just like they took away $294 of old Pop's benefits, just like that. The lady lied. And she said, well, it says here we interviewed you on June or July 7th, something like that. And I said, ma'am, nobody ever talked to me. And she said, well, they put you down for zero expenses. I said, zero expenses when I'm bedridden, and I need $300 in diapers and old people piddle pads a month. Plus my rent went up $200. And the person, and then the lady, I think it was the lady herself that did it. I think it was the lady that I was talking to. And she's lucky that I didn't ask the good Lord to level the playing field for me, because I've done that before. When somebody has lied on me or done something unpleasant, I always pray for their soul's salvation. But I say, Lord, these people, they're talking smack on me or something. Can you take care of it? When I worked at CompUSA, there was this very obnoxious man, and he always shotgunned me with innuendo. He would walk by and he would say, and he used computer terminology. He said, well, would you like to see my hard drive? And I said, no, no. And he said, well, I got a lot of RAM. So I didn't go to management or anything about it. And he always messed with my name, calling me Billy, which I hate because it's like somebody calling you hillbilly. And in any case, he always said, well, Billy, would you like to see my hard drive? I got a lot of RAM. And I'm like, man, just step, get away from me. So I prayed for, maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. Lord, you gotta move me or move this guy. And so he came up to my desk one day, and he was really foul. I mean, he had a tongue tack in his tongue, And he said he would chill it down with ice cubes so he could please his partner better. And I'm like, man, I don't want to hear any of that crap, you know. And there were other things. And when you rebuff somebody like that, they always, they'll start a rumor about you. And he sent everybody at CompUSA, emails that Billy said, the cow says moo and the duck says quack, and but luckily he had misspelled my name, so that vindicated me. But in any case, he came to me one day. He said, well, Billy, I've been transferred down to Florida. And I was like, thank God. Because when I worked for Comp, I was trending towards $100,000 in 1 month of sales. Because if my store didn't have the computer somebody wanted, I would just put in a drop ship order through another store. Then I would call my buddy at the other store and I said, that system you have, that's mine now. Don't sell it. It's got to go to so-and-so. And so I just used all the other stores in the area as my warehouse, so to speak. And like I said, I was trending to $100,000. And my supervisor came up and he said, you're making too much money. We're putting you on $8.45 an hour. What have you got to say about it? I said, bye. He said, what? I said, bye. But I was voted Employee of the Month, and I got a free piece of pizza, 1 or 2 slices of free pizza. The boss held his hand over my head. This is Employee of the Month. And I wrote a manual for their inventory system, which unbelievably for a computer store used DOS. It used DOS 3.10 for their inventory, even though Windows had come out and all that. So the problem was there was a game called End of the World or something. You go to your Wise terminal and you would type in end, and as soon as you hit enter, it would shut the terminal down because the terminal thought you were telling it end. And there were other commands. There was like buy and park, and there was other commands. But for some reason, when you typed in end, it shut your terminal down. So I had to come up with a description that you could find this game on the system without shutting it down. So that was the beginning of my CompUSA debugging journal, which they ended up printing and distributing. And then the other thing that I did was, instead of using a wired telephone, I used a cordless phone, so that when somebody asked if I had a product, I could go out to the sales floor and take that product and hold it for them for 10 days. And that way you didn't wind up with one of something that never sold. Because we were always told, when you get down to one, you tell the customer you don't have it. So the store wound up with all of these one-ofs that they never sold. I got rid of all of them. I cleaned out the cage of items that were getting too old to sell. And the other thing that I did was, when people would call, I didn't just blow them off. I'd say, well, describe what you would like to have. What kind of system would you like for us to build you? And I would type in the memory and the RAM and the ROM and all of this other stuff. And then I would give them a quote number. I would say, now I just typed this in the system as a quote. When you go to tech department, tell them to bring it up. All I have to do is type in S before it and turn it into a sale, and you won't have to repeat what you told me, and they can build it in like 20 minutes, a half hour, you'll be on your way. And I sold a lot of stuff that way. But like I said, it got my salary cut, but at least the antagonist left. And then I left because the money wasn't good for the aggravation. So I got reprimanded because this lady called me a jackass, because what people don't understand is back then you had an in-store price, so you had all the overhead, and then you had a catalog price, and people were like, well, I want the catalog price, but I want to pick it up in store. So you would be stuck explaining to them, well, if you want that price, you have to order it. And the lady got very agitated. She's, I want to talk to your manager. And so she didn't tell the truth. She said that she wasn't treated properly and blah, blah. And so I was like, fine, the whole thing's goofy anyway. It's not worth enough money. And that's the way a company loses good people, is by not taking care of oddball situations like that. But in any case, getting back to what you young people are waiting for, the joy of a one world government and world socialism and all of that other stuff. Boy, have you got a surprise coming. I've already seen it in a dream that I had about what's coming. And like I said, when this new government comes into being, they're going to knock on your door and they're going to want to do a wellness check and see how many bedrooms you have, how much food you have, if you have any weapons, that kind of thing. And the other thing they're going to do is they're going to put, I would say probably 5 years from now at the max, they're going to open up your house and make you take in strangers if you have an extra bedroom or if you have extra room, because they want to compact everybody. They want people moved out of the suburbs into the cities, into high rises, like those abysmal high rises that they have over in the Eastern Bloc, And see, the other thing that they're doing now that people don't see, because this is a world chess game. And then when the stuff hits the fan, it's going to be a dominoes game where they knock down one domino and all of the other dominoes come falling down, crashing down. The Bible literally says it's all going to happen within 1 hour. And I believe that's a literal hour that the Bible's talking about. But be that as it may, you have an admin now that's totally incompetent for a purpose. And they've squandered our money. They've squandered our fuel reserve, our weapons reserves, and they're teaching wokeism and critical race theory and race hatred to young people. And they're doing that on purpose. It's to set everybody at each other's throats so that you don't see the real deal in the big picture that's coming. And like I said, fam, it's very far down the tracks. So in the future, you're going to have somebody knock on your door. They're going to want to know what food you have, how many rooms in your house, how many people are living there, if you have any weapons. Last time I went to the doctors, it asked me on the form for the doctor's office, if I owned a GUN. And I'm like, well, what has that got to do with my doctor's visit? And they're like, well, it's part of mental health. It's a mental health question. Bull. And see, in this WAR economy, where every country's broke, except the bear country, they're doing well. But Iron Eagle and the Dragon were broke. And so what do you need to fuel a WAR economy? You need weapons and you need bodies to feed into the grinder. You need bodies. Just like those poor little chickens at a chicken farm, when a chicken gets born, they do what's called sexing the chicken to find out whether it's a female or a male. And so the chick breaks out of the egg. Somebody picks it up, looks at it, and if it's a male, they throw it into the grinder. Horrible, just like that James Bond movie where the guy is thrown into the grinder and it's grinding him as he screams. The chick is flapping and it's like this. Wait a minute, I just came into this world. And it gets ground into feathers and meat, fuzz and meat. And then they probably sell that off, because that's not abominable enough to throw the little baby chick the second it's born into a grinder. I couldn't do that job. I couldn't do that. And there are people that have a mean spirit that like that kind of stuff. They like working in slaughterhouses and stuff like that. I worked with the lady down in Washington who was an executive secretary. Very prestigious job. She was the coldest person I'd ever met in my life. She had those dead eyes like a shark. And she gave her notice. And I asked her, I said, T, where are you going? She wanted to become a jail guard, lock people up and teach them a lesson and, that kind of stuff. That was her deal. She went from being an executive secretary in Washington to being a jail guard. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about being a guard at jail, so don't troll me, Pop. Come on, man. I'm just saying that this woman's motivation was that she wanted to exert control over other people, get to lock them up and all that other stuff. And when I was a young boy, when I was, 17, I got locked up for going through a right turn on red when it first came out. And I went down the parkway and I took pictures of all of the trees that were in front of the sign. And so when I went to court, I asked the judge if I could approach the bench. She said, come here. I put the pictures down. I said, Your Honor, you can see that the no turn on red sign is blocked by these trees. And so she said, bang. And then as I walked away, she said, Mr. So-and-so. I said, yes, Your Honor. $5 court costs. Court costs, and he found me innocent, but $5 court costs. So she was assessing, it was the same as assessing contempt of court was what she was doing. So in any case, they took me, booked me, locked me up, And I had to call my sister, who had just had a baby, to come and pay the $5 court costs. And while I was in the tank, they were making fun of me, saying that by the time that I got out, I would look like Richard Simmons in a tutu, and all this other stuff was going to happen to me. So my sister came and bailed me out, and I walked past the counter. I was like, but they put me through all of this agony over $5. I didn't have the $5 because I had gone to the wrong courthouse, assuming that since the ticket was in Rockville, Maryland, that the court I would go to would be in Rockville. Instead, it was in Bethesda. So I had to fight downtown traffic and all of that other stuff. Got there at the last minute before they declared me in contempt and all of that other good stuff over $5. So that's how the system works. And see, it's that way on purpose, because if you think, well, why does the system pick on the little people? It picks on the little people because it wants little people to be scared of the system. It doesn't want any way that you can defend yourself, or any way that you can push back. And that's what the whole thing about getting rid of the US dollar and all of that, it's about exerting control over other people. And I'm very sorry to tell you, young people, you're going to live in a world of rules, of where you can't go, when you can't go, what you can't drive, what you can't fly. So you need to work on your credit score, making sure your bills are paid, and any bill that's contested, that you settle with the person. And then the other thing, young people, I've told you this in other videos, that you want to do whatever you can to get the word doctor put in front of your name. That's going to be very important in the future. And there are degrees that you can get online that'll get you that doctor in front of your name. Back when they had the gas crisis in 1973, I was dating a nurse, and I pulled into the gas station on my day, and they did odd and even days where you could only get gas every other day. So I pulled into the gas station, and I was in a nice suit and tie. I was driving a very square car, a square Ford Galaxie 500 four-door that the insurance company said would be cheap to insure, because I had told Geico that I was going to get a Camaro, and the lady said, "No, you're not." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "If you get that Camaro, the insurance payment will be as much as the car payment." She said, "You need to get yourself an Impala or a Ford Galaxie or a Dodge Coronet or something, four-door sedan." So she said, "Get your performance car, for your midlife crisis, but not now." So I pulled up to the gas station in my very respectable looking square Ford with my nurse at my side. And the man came up, and back then everybody who worked at a gas station or junkyard or waiter or picked up trash, you were called boy. I never did that to another person. So in any case, the man came up to the window and said, "Fill it up, Doc." And I looked at my girlfriend. "Well, yes, because I had to take her to the hospital for her shift. but he assumed I was a doctor, and he filled the car up when I was only supposed to get $5 of gas or 5 gallons, whatever it was. I think it was 5 gallons back then, which would have been, I don't know, like $2.50 worth of gas, something like that back then, because gas had jumped up. Back when I pumped gas, it was 19 cents a gallon, and premium was 26 cents. And now things are so expensive. Mi mano derecha got me 2 McFish sandwiches and a chocolate shake, $17 for 2 McFish with half a piece of cheese, not even a whole piece of cheese on top of it, half a piece of cheese and a little teaspoon of tartar sauce on it, and milkshake, $17. So, Pop got to take his medicine. Boy, time goes by fast. I use different tones to tell me what to take, when to take it. So that and writing down your medicine will always keep you. That and writing down your medicine will always keep you from underdosing or overdosing your medicine. Those of you that just pop a pill every so often when you feel like it, that's the worst thing that you can do, because if your blood pressure happens to be low and you take your blood pressure medicine, you can cause what's called paradoxical hypertension. And that's where your body needs a certain amount of blood pressure to push the blood through your kidneys and everything. And so your body will struggle to make the blood pressure come back up. You'll feel woozy and dizzy, and you take a little bit more and your body will struggle more. And then you wind up in the ER, and then they have to give you more medicine because your body gets used to the amount that you're taking, and you end up taking more and more and more and more. I've taken the same little bit for years and years because I always take my blood pressure before I take the medicine. I always time the efficacy, which changes according to diet, urine output, stress, lack of sleep, a whole bunch of stuff makes a difference. So that keeps me healthy. And that's why you see an old person who's the better part of a century old and still kicking. It's because we take good care of ourselves. And last time I went to the hospital, which I think this is devious, they were like, we're going to give you some pain medication. We're going to give you Oxy. And so I was like, no, thank you. They said, well, we will give you the prescription anyway. You can get it filled if you want. I took the prescription and I tore it up so they wouldn't fall into anybody's hands and get them addicted. But see, they give people in the hospital Oxy, and then you wind up addicted, and then they shake their finger at you. Well, now you're an addict. Well, you're an addict because of what they started you on. So that's another thing. Before you let anybody prescribe something, you want to find out what it is, what the consequences of taking it are, all of that stuff. You have to be vigilant. There are 3 types of personality. It's a vigilant, ever vigilant, and hyper vigilant. And my personality is what's called ever vigilant. It's the, you know, ain't necessarily so generation. But I'm careful. I live circumspectly. I pray for you all because, like I said, this whole thing, the next year is going to be bread and circuses and smoke and mirrors. And all of these feckless traitors who have betrayed this country think that they have a future somewhere, and they don't. They're going to be thrown under the bus. They're going to be thrown under the bus, and they're a bunch of devious sharks that would sell their own mother out for $1. So you're going to see a wild 2024. You have to be prepared. You have to have your relationship with God through the Lord Jesus Christ. You have to have your physical fitness. You have to have your preps, your pantry. And fam, I'm telling you, when they start to do home wellness checks, you're going to need 2 pantries or 3. The reason being is when they take the extra food that you have, you're going to be beholden to them for your next meal. So you need to take a room in your house and take the door off and put a mirror in front of that opening or a bookcase or making some sort of hidden safe room in your house where you can store your important papers, your pew, you know, your weapons, and your emergency food. And don't buy that $1,000 stuff that's nothing but rice and beans and macaroni noodles with a ton of salt. You couldn't survive on that stuff eating it for more than a few days. So you don't want to buy $1,000 worth of it. Buy your canned goods, buy your rice, your dried beans, you know, make sure you put water aside. Smart and affordable. Don't waste money on that 25-year, you know, $1,000 stuff because we don't have 25 years. Jesus is coming soon, and you want to make sure that you're in right stead with God so that when the time comes before this 7 years of hell on earth, that you can giddy up on out of here. Pop out.